Motorsports. Can you hold, please?
Sure.
Thanks.
With top-line distributors such as Parts Unlimited, Western Power Sports, Tucker Rocky, and Marshall Distributing for aftermarket parts and direct lines for OEM parts, we have you covered. Want an awesome upgrade to make your friends jealous? Our experience from our award-winning race team gives us the edge. Let us work with you to build your dream side-by-side, quad, or bike. With over 23 years of experience in racing, customization, and repairs, Pro Motorsports has what it takes to keep your toys at their feet. Don't have a truck or trailer? Let Pro Motorsports help with free pickup and delivery within 20 miles of the shop. Summer is already here, and we know you want to get out on the water. That's right. Whether you have a Sea-Doo, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, or Polaris, we can get you out enjoying the water again. Pro Motorsports is offering summer maintenance specials on all PWCs, and we even do lake testing. With top-line distributors such as Parts Unlimited, Western Power Sports, Tucker Rocky, and Marshall Distributing for aftermarket parts and direct lines for OEM parts, we have you covered.
Hello?
Mr. Knight, Aaron Nash from the clerk's office.
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Mr. Nash?
Okay, how about you?
Good. Thanks.
What can I do for you?
Okay, look. Okay, I don't know, somehow you put the letter into the file, and that clouds things because now the file has something in it. But, okay, getting around that, the creation and the times that these files were created is important with when they were logged into the computer system, because there's 3 separate files, and supposedly they were logged on 3 separate dates, and there's a complication about the files because their CR number matches their JC number, and that's not normal practice. That's something that can happen. They can do it, right? But it's not like it's normal. So that means Ms. Keinow had to speak with somebody about that. Somebody wanted that done that way, or there was a reason why it was done that way. So Ms. Keinow knows what the reason is and who she dealt with about this, and it seems like she was actually almost like a specialist dealing with this case, with all the different intricacies. So, and what I'm saying is, I was told by the staff, in addition to seeing myself, that the files were empty for a year, and all of a sudden, Ms. Keinow's stamps appeared on documents that were inserted into the file in 2016, in February or March of 2016, and the stamps are from 2015. So, and there's, I think, 3 or 4 documents that are stamped like that. The other documents don't appear to have stamps on them. And I'm wondering what the explanation is for all this.
I don't have any new information for you. The file stamps and the case files, the dates that are on the stamps, nothing that I could find showed that that was out of the ordinary. So I get that you're saying you and other folks looked and there was nothing there between 2015 and 2016, but that's not what I show, and that's not what the records show.
But the records, when you're saying, okay, but I understand what you're saying. You're saying that's not what the records show, but what I'm saying is that they were fraudulently inserted, and there has to be records of when you make entries into a computer system. Those data entries are recorded. So what I was asking for is the supervisory level landscape of what's going on here, and not the general landscape, because otherwise we're not going to be able to find out really what the details are. And the details are very important because they have to match up here. And I get what you're saying. You're saying, look, there's files in there now, and it said that there was supposed to be files, so that's what we're showing. And you're saying you understand also that I'm saying, and those other people are saying, and they're your people, by the way, that are saying that it was empty. And then the only thing that was in there was the probation document that I got from, it was generated by probation. Well, that document was in there. But you're also saying that Mrs. Keinow, you told me a story how she put the keystrokes in, made up a different file and she used that file, the 082 file. Did you say she was storing the other case files there?
Well, and that's what that letter should have explained. The 082 was created, that was a typo with the case number that should have been 802. So the documents initially went into 082, then the error was found, and 802 was created, and then the documents were put in 802 where they should have been. But
the 802 existed. It existed when the other case existed. They both were around in March in the computer system.
Okay.
They didn't have any information in them, but they were all there. So, I mean, how did you find that information out, though?
How do you mean? I went to the case management system and looked at the docket.
No, but how did you find out that the files were stored in one thing and then transferred to the other?
Well, that's all from the docket. So if you look at the 802 case, you can see the original file date, but the documents weren't docketed until the typo in the case number was discovered.
And when you say docketed, that means put into the computer system?
Put into the case file, right. So something could be filed one day and docketed a different day, meaning it has a file stamp on it, so that marks the day that the clerk received it for filing, and then there may be some time to process it when it actually gets put into the case file.
So, right, but so they might have stamped it right, but okay, I understand. But then they're going to put it in a thing to docket it, but it'll be, within the same day or whatever, or, whatever time that other things around it got docketed. I mean, they basically put it in a file bin, is what you're saying, right?
Right. There's the file date, which is the accepted for filing date, and the docket date when it's put into the case file.
But then, how did you know that who discovered that these files were in the wrong case?
Well, it could have been anybody. It could be an auditor who just checks things. It could have been when one of your payments came in and they said, check this case, and then they see it's 082 instead of 802. So there could be multiple different ways to find that out.
But the thing is, wouldn't they have to make a note in the computer system that somebody had found that out and somebody had fixed it, and keystroke an ID and who found it and who fixed it?
Well, there'd be the file date and the docket date. Anything else, and that's what I was looking for, some kind of report that I could print or something from the case management system. And we don't have any kind of regular report for that.
But the thing is, whoever did that work would have had to have done it for a reason, and they would have had to note if the files were in a. So they're saying the files were in a completely different wrong file, and then somebody moved the file. But who did the actual moving of the file from one file to the next?
Well, the file, the correction from 082 to 802, that was all done by Stacy Keinow, which would be normal because she processes criminal cases.
Oh, but who was she speaking to about these inconsistencies?
I don't know.
I mean, is she a manager, or is she what kind of a level of service is she on?
Well, she's a lead, so there would be staff. Then a lead is somebody who has more experience than a supervisor than a manager.
Okay. So she's pretty much up there.
Yeah, so it would be normal for her to process these and correct errors.
But she's making the errors and correcting the errors.
Yeah, it would depend. So with the clerk's records, where are you now in terms of the next step?
Well, I mean, we have the document with Stacy Keinow's stamp on it from it's a transfer document. There's two of those. So there can't exist two transfer documents for the same case, but there are. So that's in the 802 case. So we're still back at that thing. And actually, all this stuff with Miss Keinow, there's a problem because her stamp is on all the documents that were inserted into the electronic filing system a year later, and they're all from the date around those dates of February. I think it was February 23rd or 4th, something like that. When she was dealing with numbers. So the thing is, Miss Keinow who did she deal with though at the court to get the same numbers?
I don't know that she dealt with anybody. That's just the case numbering process. It's not out of the ordinary that the limited jurisdiction case number would be the same in Superior Court except for the CR.
It is kind of out of the ordinary, yeah.
It's not, and we've talked about that. So let me just kind of get ahead because I got to get to an appointment at 10 o'clock.
Okay,
so let me
Mr.
give
Nash,
you some options. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but it's okay. I'm sorry. So that's 2 minutes. Okay, so but the thing is, it's not. Maybe you're saying it's not out of the ordinary, but it's not in the general process to assign it the same number, or that's what they would do to make things simple. You can't assign it the same number every time because there's other cases that are taking up that number in the Superior Court system because they have a different numbering system there than the JC Court system does. In this case, Ms. Keinow went out of her way to make them the same numbers, and she actually made a mistake on it and keyed in the wrong numbers, and you're saying put in the wrong case. But that file, there was nothing in those files. They were empty. And all your other clerks were saying that they were empty. And Ms. Keinow's, she's at the heart of every one of these things that happen that's inconsistent. And who was she dealing with? Who was she explaining stuff to? Who's above Ms. Keinow? Who does she go to when she says she made a mistake or she's got a problem?
Well, anybody would go to their supervisor, but what's the end result you want with the document?
Well, we need to find out when they were created and docketed and who and where Ms. Keinow's stamps were entered into the system. And then also we need to find out all the different entries into the file. When they're on some level, those are recorded in the system. So I'm looking for and when I was on the phone with the clerks, they were happy to give it to me, except they didn't have the supervisor view. But if you do have that kind of a view, you should be able to find out when the entries were made, all of them. And like, for example, in the case 082 case, there was nothing in that file. So you're saying that there was this lady stored this stuff in there. Well, when other people looked, there was no evidence of anything having been in there. And also when you looked, there was no evidence of that either. But you were given the story that that's where she parked the case. But there should be evidence that she parked the case there, that she had files parked there. And that's another level, because what Ms. Keinow is saying doesn't make sense. She's saying she had files parked and none of your other clerks could see them when I was paying the money, and then they couldn't even figure out where the money was going to once it was paid, even though they had contact with the court and also the probation department. Okay.
Well, so let's try this. I'll send you an email about, do you still have the July 11 email I sent you that responded to some of your questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll send you an email if you want to dispute the thing about the internal case management records where we don't have a regular report. I mean, there's a process in Rule 123 where you can challenge that denial of access to records. And so I can send you something on how to do that. It sounds like that's the next step.
Okay. Well, I mean, because on one hand you're saying, which is very nice, we can help you to, I'll give you the information on how you can find it, but you could also find that information and give it to me yourself, though.
I don't have access to it, and that's how the rule is set up. But that's the next step.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll send you that, and then
reasonable.
What's that?
That sounds reasonable, because then what you're saying is that's access to information. But who's denying the access to information?
Well, I denied it in that email I sent to you by saying we would have to create something that doesn't already exist. I can't just go in and see the information.
Yeah, but it does exist, though. Mr. Nash, if it's the computer...
Okay, well, and that's what this process is for. So I need to get to this 10 o'clock meeting that I have. I'll send you this. I'll send you the email today still, and we can follow up by email and phone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.